So I've built a set of irons with an interesting shaft. We're looking at the Oban CT 115. And Oban have some really good claims to how consistently they manufacture their shafts. And now, having had some in my hands, I absolutely believe them. I've got a set of tailor-made P790s, 5 to pitch and wedge, with a little something on the ferrule. We've got some custom ferrules on there. Also got slightly bigger grips, just 3 layers of tape under here, so they are a little bit thicker. But the main thing I'm looking at here is what these feel like in the head. And there is something very interesting indeed in terms of when I was dealing with these shafts and building them. Whoa, a little bit left. They feel really, really solid. For a 115 gram shaft, that's like a mid-weight shaft that feels just as stable as something that's normally quite heavy. Now, I have built these slightly heavier in general in terms of the swing weight, so I've got a bit more weight at the head end of the club, so I've got more mass going through the ball. But when it came to spine aligning these shafts, they came out really, really nice. Whoa, a little bit more upright than I'm used to, so it's going just to the left-hand side. Absolutely rockets off the face, but they do feel really good. The spin rates that I'm getting with these shafts compared to the standard shafts is slightly higher, which means that I'm going to get more drop and stop onto the greens. And you'll normally see a lot of Oban shafts in the wood section, but you don't normally see them in the irons that often at all. But if you do go to a custom fit studio that has them as a stock shaft, give them a whack, because they are really, really good. Or if you see a set with a set in, I rate them, and this is why. So when I was building these golf clubs that have the Oban shafts in them, I spine align every shaft that I build, and I noticed something quite interesting with that. Now, to build a steel shaft, you have to have a big sheet of metal that gets rolled up and sealed down the side. So when you have that seal, there's a hard part of the shaft on one of the rotations of the shaft. So if I can hopefully demonstrate that, I have this device here. Now this sits in this area here, and we have this tool that has 2 ball bearings on there, and this gets pushed on the shaft, and we spin the shaft round, and there is a spine on most shafts. I don't know if you can see how that wants to go back to the same spot each time, but this rotational bit here does want to go back to that same point. So on this one, the hardest part of the shaft is there, because it just wants to go back to that point. So I will get this part of the shaft aiming at the target. However, with the Oban shafts, when I put them in here and spun them around, the most I got was a really, really faint rocking into the same place. It did not come back to the same bit. It was very evenly distributed within the shaft, so I don't think they have the same method of sealing this bit of the shaft. It's just much more evenly distributed in terms of how it's made. And what that does for consistency is it means that you can put these shafts in without worrying about that element of it. If we have the spine at the front, the top, the bottom and the back throughout the set of irons, we might get slightly different characteristics in flight. Now, don't get me wrong, those differences in flight aren't major. They're not gonna throw the ball around that much, but it's very subtle. But when you get into the deeper levels of the game, you want to get more consistent. Things like this give you those 1% gains. And if you think of the guys on tour, every 1% gain can be quite valuable. But they feel absolutely gorgeous. That's a 7-iron. Carrying 188, that's back up to my normal kind of distances compared to others. 115 isn't too heavy as well. It's sort of like, I would call that a medium weight, because they can get up to 120, 130. They can get down to 90, 85. It's a kind of like mid-weight shaft, but the way that they're made, I think the quality is just on another level. But there's my little 2 cents on what I think of these shafts. They feel lovely. The thing that I feel with spine aligning when I get all the spines in the same place is that if I hit a bad shot, I don't blame my clubs. I go, that was me 100%. I think you can get something out of that in terms of the Oban shafts, or get your other shafts spine aligned for the biggest chance of consistency and success in your ball flight.